coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over, over there, over there, over there. Send the word over.
Everybody, thank you for joining us today. This is a Veterans for Cannabis podcast, and I'm your host, Joshua Littrell. This is going to be exciting. This is a two-part podcast. So today I'm joined by Masa Kenney and Jeff Tabor. Masa, Jeff, how are you gentlemen doing?
Doing great, Joshua.
So you guys, and for our listeners, Jeff, if you'll say hello.
Yes, this is Jeff Tabor.
Beautiful. And Masa, if you will say hello.
Hello, this is Masa Kenney.
Beautiful. So for our listeners, this is the very first time we've ever had two people on the podcast together, and you guys is a really, really interesting story. This is why this is going to be a two-part podcast today. So first part, we'll talk about, where you guys are from, a little bit of growing up, some military service, and then the second part, we're going to talk about where the cannabis industry is going, specifically in the South, and maybe some of the technological improvements that are going to be happening as well. So, Jeff, Masa, I think I'll let you guys kick it off, and Masa, I'll let you lead. Tell us a little bit about, how you know Jeff, and then because you're a prior guest, people know Masa.
Right.
They know the man. Now we're going to learn a little bit more about what is Masa, who is Masa, where's Masa from, and then, hey, Jeff, what? How did this happen? Masa, tell us a little bit about where you're from.
Okay, well, from South Georgia, Moultrie, and we actually both grew up there, went to high school there together. We both actually joined by the buddy system on the same day into the Army, and
wow.
We both actually ended up, I was stationed in Germany, he was stationed here on land in the continental U.S., and we both went to Desert Storm, and we were both on that 2-year program for the college fund, and got out and ended up going to school together, and here we are 30 years later, we're still working together and just hanging out and being old buds.
Wow. So you guys have known each other for 30 years. And when y'all came to sign up for service, did y'all do that together? Was it the true buddy system, Jeff? When you guys joined, did you both sign on the dotted line together and say, I'm going with my brother? Or was it you joined at the same time and went in at the same time?
Well, what happened is initially Masa signed up first initially. And then after he signed up, and I found out that you could actually go into the Army for 2 years. You could enlist for 2 years. Then I definitely saw what Masa was doing and what his plan was. So I said, look, it sounds like a great plan to me. You go into the military for 2 years of service, and then if you want to get out, then they can pay for your education. So that's kind of the way that happened. And I'm really glad that I did that, because it really helped me out a lot and made me, become a better man and be ready for what challenges were ahead. And so I think it was a really positive thing, and I really encourage young people to look at that as an option, especially if you have the option of going in for only a 2-year stint.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, gentlemen. I think we need to do a follow-up on this. I don't even know if that 2-year thing exists anymore. Do y'all know if it does?
No, it doesn't.
I didn't think so either. But, Jeff, I'm with you on that 100%. So I was in a unique situation where I had a couple buddies follow me after I joined. But that's a great point that you make for young people now. If you got a buddy that you love and appreciate, join together. Do it, because that life experience is invaluable.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, I wish that the Army would reconsider, adding this back, the program back. I know that in my case, I never imagined that I would sign up for 2 years and end up spending most of that time overseas in the first Gulf War. But, that's kind of like, if you look back in time, we haven't had a deployment like that in decades. and then all of a sudden you sign up for 2 years, and it just happens to be the
It's
same
right time,
that all
right?
that stuff is going down.
That's
So
right.
it was kind of funny in that respect.
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine. I mean, so it's very similar to 9/11 for some of the generation that's serving now. You know, they may have entered late 90s, and it would have been 10 years since something like that had happened. Oh, nothing like that's going to happen again, and then boom, you know, here we go. So, yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, yep. And then, you know, like Masa said, after we got out of the Army, we got out about the same time. And then we just bumped back into each other again at Valdosta State. And then we hung out for a while in Valdosta, and then Masa transferred up to UGA. And we, you know, I was in his wedding back when he got married some time back, and then we lost contact for a little while, and then recently we kind of rejoined.
You know, Masa, tell us a little bit about what that's like for veterans who have served together, who've known each other for years. When you go and you don't speak to each other for 4, 5, 10 years, is it the same? I mean, you can't just pick up where you left off, can you?
Well, yeah, I think you can. I mean, we actually did. Me and Jeff just recently reached out to me, 6 months ago after we haven't talked for 8 years, and we picked right back up where we left off. And, you know, it's just, there's a bond there between not just, you know, old high school buddies, but combat vets
That's right.
You won't ever, you know, it'll never, I don't think anybody else will be able to understand. So, you know, that's just a very strong bond that you really, you know, you can't break. So yeah, you know, we've been having a good old time just hanging out and getting back together and starting new things and living life.
I think that's the real key. And, you know, Jeff, so in what Masa says, I think is absolutely true. In the civilian sector, have you found good lasting relationships like that where you could go 3 or 4 years not see somebody and then just pick up where you left off? Or is that something that's very specific to the veteran community?
Well, you know, I think that a lot of that, there are a lot of things that are specific to the veteran community. And I'll give you an example. A good example is today, Masa and I actually made a trip to the VA together.
Wow.
Yeah, he had some business he had to take care of, and I had some things that I had to take care of. And I was, I'm already established at the local VA here in St. Petersburg, and Masa's not. So I kind of guided him to where he needed to go, those types of things.
That's so awesome.
You know, and there's a lot of challenges that veterans have that are similar, and there's a lot of similarities as well in how you access health care and what healthcare options that you have, and I definitely believe that there's a connection that veterans have, not only from the standpoint of life experiences, but also as it relates to the challenges of seeking health care.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Jeff, I think the listeners understand a little bit about Masa's background and his service, but tell us what you did when you were in the Army.
Oh, well, when I was in the Army, I was a 13 Echo, which is a cannon fire direction specialist. So what
Interesting.
we had to do, we would call fire missions down to the artillery cannons, and we had to learn how to calculate everything manually that this computer system did. And so, for example, we would get information like wind speed and muzzle velocity and relative humidity, and we would calculate range and deflection, and we would call the actual fire mission down to the gun bunnies, and those guys would put the charges in, and they would use the coordinates that we would give them to fire for effect. So that was my job going into the Army, but I actually never really worked in my MOS once I got in.
Really?
When I got to Fort Hood, I interviewed for a job when my unit was deactivating. And I didn't even know what job I was interviewing for. So I went down to, honestly, God, I didn't know what I was interviewing for. And so they sent me down to division headquarters at the 1st Cavalry Division, and I interviewed to become the driver for who was then the assistant division commander of the 1st Cavalry Division.
Wow.
He was a brigadier general. So I actually became Tommy Frank's Humvee driver in the First Gulf War.
Wow.
So, I had no idea that General Franks would later become the CENTCOM commander.
Well, and so I was about to say, too, Jeff, so you gentlemen both served with General Franks. I served under General Franks when I was in theater in Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was our commanding officer. That's crazy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and I actually did, and General Franks was really good to me, and he actually did help me out with some things kind of under the radar, even once I got out of the military. So, General Franks was definitely a hard charger even back in those days.
Well, I think a great time for us to be able to plug American Soldier by General Franks is one of my favorite books. So for our listeners, if you are a reader, I recommend personally getting, General Franks' book, American Soldier. Sorry, shameless plug, right?
Yeah, I actually have that book as well. And it was really interesting reading that. And, if you look through the book, I actually experienced and saw him experience some of the things that he discussed in the book.
Wow, that is so awesome.
And I was only 19 years old at the time. And but it was the hardest job that I ever had. And I still say that to this day, being his driver in the First Gulf War.
Wow. Man, that is so that's nuts. Masa, when you think about you guys both serving at the same time under, General Franks, and here I am, you guys are what, 91, 92? When was that?
Yeah, well, 90, 91.
90, 91. And then I am 2003, 2004 serving under General Franks, too. That is nuts. And that goes to show you all, listeners, our military is a very, very, very small circle as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Crazy. So that's awesome, Jeff. Thanks so much for sharing that story, because that's a phenomenal, just a little background into, you can join the military, think you're going to do one thing, and guess what you do? Something completely different.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And you just have to be willing to, accept what's in front of you and make the best out of it. And there's they say that going in the military is an adventure, and it absolutely can be.
I can't even imagine. Masa, did you think 30 years ago when you and Jeff were joining together that, it would be such an adventure? Or did you have any inclination at all at that time what you guys were signing up for?
Well, no. I don't think we had any inclination that we would both end up out there in Saudi Arabia.
Right. My gosh.
That's one of those things you cannot expect. But the thing about it is that me and Jeff are very similar in the respect that, we love a good adventure, and we're going to make the best and the most out of it. So, even though we got sent halfway across the world from each other and ended up in the same combat theater, it's just that experience that you have to live to the fullest.
Right. No, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, and Joshua, it's really funny to think about it this way. We went into the Army, and then we ETS'd before we were even old enough to alcohol.
Wow.
I know that, went in when we were 18, we got out when we were 20, and it's, I don't think that there's a lot of people that could actually say that, that we were able to have that 2-year experience. And, we were old enough to go into a combat zone, but you're not old enough to even buy alcohol. But it just gives you the idea of, kind of how young we were at the time. And, and also you can look back and see how much